Secretary Rumsfeld, a number of administration officials have spoke recently about the need for a regime change in Iraq, probably the highest profile being Secretary of State Colin Powell. Do you favor such a regime change sooner rather than later? And how concerned should Saddam Hussein be that the U.S. military may be the force of that regime change?
Well, I think that the Congress passed legislation relating to regime change. I don't know many people who have developed a great deal of admiration for that regime and the way it treats its people and the way it treats its neighbor and the fact that it's engaging in the development of weapons of mass destruction. The timing and whether or not anything is done with respect to any country is something that is for the president and the country to make those judgments, and it's not for me to express views on that. So I don't.
Has something new come to the attention of the United States with regard to Iraq that has kicked us into an apparently higher gear, the planning and the contemplation of dealing with Iraq? Or is this a continuum that...
Well, I think the United States, since Desert Storm, has always had a various planning with respect to Iraq and what it might do to its neighbors. It's threatened, it's invaded Kuwait. It's threatened the Shia in the south and harmed them. It's harmed the Kurds in the north. It has expressed its view that the regimes of its neighboring countries are illegitimate and ought not to be there. It is a country that threw out the inspectors, that has an active weapon of mass destruction programs. I don't know if anything's changed.
Maybe it is a misperception here. Previous administrations have adopted a policy of trying to contain Saddam Hussein. And it appears, from what the President has said and what Colin Powell has said, that containment no longer works in the view of this administration, that the threat has somehow changed, increased, that the dynamics are different, and therefore regime change has become a more substantial goal for this administration than previous ones. Is that true?
Well, if you think about what the President and Secretary Powell have said, what they have said, it seems to me, is pretty much self-evident, that every year that goes by and the inspectors are not there, the development of their weapons of mass destructions proceed apace, bringing them closer to a time when they will have those weapons developed in a form that is more threatening than it had been the year before or the year before that. The second thing that's occurred is that technologies have advanced, and to the extent that the sanctions, which historically is the case, sanctions tend to weaken over time. They're relaxed in one way or another, and as those sanctions are relaxed and as dual-use capabilities flow into that country, their capability is restored in terms of their ability to impose harm on their neighbors or threaten others. Third, the September 11th attack, if you think of the President's words and Secretary Powell's position, it reminded the world and the United States that terrorist networks exist, that in fact we now know from the intelligence we've gathered that they've had a very active effort underway to get chemical, biological, and radiation capabilities, terrorist networks. And we know that Iraq has those and does not wish many of its neighbors well, if any. I don't think it has a neighbor that it wishes well. Maybe. So it's that combination of things that I would suspect led to the President's comments and to the Secretary's comments.
Would it be accurate to say that this building at the Pentagon is now spending more time considering Iraq than it had previously in terms of your planning process?
This building has always been attentive for at least more than a decade now, 10, 12 years to Iraq. We've had northern no-fly zones and southern no-fly zones and flying flights there attempting to contain that country and prevent them from jumping on one of their neighbors.